The ACU women's basketball team is coming off two big wins over the past week and face an even bigger test next. It's the Julie Goodenough Show right now. Welcome to another episode of the Julie Goodenough Show from the ACU TV studios on the campus of Abilene Christian University. I'm Owen Simpson alongside the women's head basketball coach, Julie Goodenough. The Wildcats are just half a game behind from first place in the conference as they sit at 7-1 in conference play behind an 8-1 Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston State. Coach, recapping last week, you go 2-0, two big wins that you fought hard for. What stuck out to you about your team's effort last week?
You know, it's hard traveling, and we left Tuesday morning. We got in really early Sunday morning. It's just a long stretch of being gone and, you know, eating in restaurants, staying in hotels, and there can be a lot of distractions, but I was just really proud of the way our players handled this as a business trip. We had a really important game on Wednesday night at Sam Houston. They had not lost a game at home this year, undefeated in conference play, and we knew to, you know, make a run at trying to reach some of our goals this year, that was going to be a really important game for us, that we needed to put forth a lot of effort and come out with a win there, and no one had been able to do that so far this season. So our players did a great job of really embracing the game plan going into that, playing a really good Sam Houston team on their home court. As soon as the game was over, we grabbed our dinner and hopped on the bus and drove to Arkansas and played a really scrappy team in Central Arkansas. They're very well coached. You can expect just a real battle at their place, and our players were ready to go. We had a completely new game plan. They embraced that and just really fought hard all the way till the final buzzer at Central.
And last show we talked about how much you learn about a team on these long road trips. You have 3 consecutive games on the road. Well, thus far 2 games in, what have you learned?
You know, again, it was a long week as far as days that we were out of town, but we had so much fun together. Had a really good time. Obviously, it helps when you win. You know, it keeps attitudes high for sure. But we have a really positive group of young ladies, and they get along well. They enjoy spending time together, and we really had a lot of fun. And we are able to, you know, get serious when we need to, like in practice and film sessions and team meetings. But you learn a lot about your teammates, and you get to know, you know, the personal side of them when you spend that much time together. And so I guess, you know, just when it's all said and done, I just felt like it was a really fun week. Our players played extremely hard in both games. Really, both games were critical to us having a good season and just chasing a championship type season. But it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed spending time together, and I think moved our team forward, both with the wins, but also just with our culture and just relationships as well.
All right. We'll recap last week's big wins on the road and Brianna Wright's big performances next. This is the Julie Goodenough Show. Welcome back to the Julie Goodenough Show. The ACU women's basketball team pushed its win streak to 3 after going 2-0 last week. Last Wednesday, the Wildcats took down Sam Houston State 81-73, who was undefeated in conference play at the time. Coach, how did you and the team feel about that win on the road Wednesday?
Awesome. It was great. Really great team effort. We beat a really good team in Sam Houston, and you know, we watch a lot of Southland Conference basketball as we're scouting and putting our game plan together for the next opponent. And, you know, so we've watched a lot of games as a staff up to this point this season. And I would say that Wednesday night was probably the best game there has been in the Southland Conference this year. I mean, two really good teams with some good quality players. We saw the top 4 scorers in the Southland Conference playing against each other. And, you know, Dom and Bree just did a tremendous job leading our team in that win. So we felt really good about it.
And you mentioned Brianna Wright and Dominique Golightly. They combined for 53 points in that game. It's not a very common theme for you guys to have 2 key players combining for more than half of the points. What were your thoughts on the point production?
You know, they both have been tremendous scoring threats for us throughout the course of the season. And oftentimes when you do have our points spread out, we'll have like 4 and 5 people in double digits. And But Bree and Dom they were just tough as nails. Bree really read the defense well. We run a lot of ball screens for her, and she just did a great job of reading whether she needed to use ball screens or whether she needed to pull up and take a three or drive all the way in for layups. She's also a really good distributor, so not only is she scoring points for herself, but she's finding ways to get her teammates open. I've talked about Dom a lot this season. She's playing the best basketball of her career right now. Just really powerful. When she has a ball in her hand, she's driving so hard to the basket. She has led us in rebounds probably in the majority of our games this year. Been really aggressive, going after offensive rebounds as well as on the defensive end. And then she's just a prolific three-point shooter too. They both got to the free throw line, knocked their free throws down. So they had tremendous games. And I think to beat good teams, you've got to have your good players step up. Your seniors who have played a lot of minutes, and these are two of our most experienced players, and they really stepped up for us on the road Wednesday.
And we got to see a couple of minutes of Maddie Miller and a few more minutes of Anna McLeod back on the court after the injuries. What was it like from a coaching perspective to give them the green light and go back out on the court?
Knock on wood, we have been so fortunate with injuries the last couple of seasons, and we did play a game without both of them, and they're gradually starting to get some minutes and get back into the swing of things. But it was good to be able to just put them out there and for them to be thrown into the action, thrown into the battle, and just see how they would respond. And they did great, and they both were able to play in the Central Arkansas game as well. So you have to be pretty fearless after you get hurt actually on the court. You go back in and you're a little bit tentative because you just mentally feel like I might get hurt again. But they're both playing really hard right now and still nursing some injuries a little bit, but they're doing a good job just mentally trying to get through that.
And fast forward to that Wednesday game against Central Arkansas, you come out on top 74-64, but they gave you a little fight for your money in the fourth quarter. They cut it to 8 points early in that final segment. How were you able to compose your team and come out with the win?
Central always gives us great battles. We had two great games against them last year where it came down to the last couple of minutes of the game before we could secure the win. In fact, at their place, it came down to a shot really in the last probably 5 seconds of the game to win it. So we knew that it would be a battle. Very well-coached team, super scrappy, athletic, and they were not going to quit. I mean, that's not the reputation there. They're going to fight you hard regardless of what the score is. So I think that we were prepared for that. We had a healthy lead at halftime, but we have learned over the course of this season and previous seasons that no lead is big enough, obviously. So our players just stayed the course down the stretch. In the fourth quarter, we hit free throws and hit a couple of key baskets with our offensive sets that kept that separation that we needed.
And what a game and what a week for Brianna Wright. 31 points against Central Arkansas, tying her career high. She had 29 points in the previous game. How big were these past two games as a player for Bree?
It was phenomenal, and it's just fun to coach her. It's fun to just watch her when she gets in her zone. When you have a big scoring night, you feel really good about how you play. You want to reproduce that the next time you play. And sometimes you see players have a career high or close to that, and then the next game they're not quite able to do that, maybe trying too hard, or maybe the other team is really sensitive to that because of the previous game they had. But Bree just continued. I mean, she did such a phenomenal job just reading her own defender on knowing whether she had the best shot or she needed to distribute to a teammate. Just really locked in with three-point shooting, and she got fouled quite a bit, got to the free throw line as well. But phenomenal week. You just don't see players in the Southland Conference scoring 60 points in 1 week. So I just can't imagine there being another player that even got close to that this past week. And it might be hard for us to find that kind of a week out of any player going on the rest of the season. Hopefully, Bree can have some more games like she did this past week. But she was, she's a brilliant point guard. I mean, she does a great job being the coach out on the court for our team, and really carried us through two really tough battles, two games that we really needed to win this week.
And going back to that Maddie Miller injury, you said still nursing that injury. That wrist injury. How is that rehab process going, even though she's able to get back on the court?
She has treatment a couple of times a day, and a lot of hers right now is just pain management. I mean, she legitimately has a broken hand, but tough as nails, tough kid. And she took off in transition driving at Central Arkansas, and I'm yelling at her the whole time down the floor trying to get her to give the ball up, and she goes all the way in for a layup and they foul her. She gets to the free throw line. And then right in front of me in the second half, we run a set, get her wide open, and she shoots a three, and she does bank it in, but nevertheless, she makes a three. And I think those two plays in particular had to just really give her a lot of confidence that even though she's struggling a little bit right now with her broken hand, she can still get a lot of things done for us. She's super tough and one of our hardest working players that we have. And when you have like an injury or you're a little bit sick or whatever, once the game starts and you get thrown into action, the adrenaline starts flowing, and you kind of forget about what's painful or how you feel. And I think that's what's happened for Maddie and for some of our other kids that have some bumps and bruises. Once they get out there, they kind of forget about that and just really get involved in the game.
And it's great to have a player to bring that kind of energy to the court.
Absolutely.
ACU has 2 upcoming games this week, which could drastically affect the conference standings. We'll return in a moment to preview those 2 games for the Wildcats. This is the Julie Goodenough Show. Welcome back to the Julie Goodenough Show. The Wildcats have one more road game on this 3-game road trip before returning to Moody this Saturday. Coach, how's this trip been for your team thus far, and how nice is it to be back in Abilene?
Yeah, we love being at home. It was nice to get home early Sunday morning and had Sunday to recover and then be able to go to class. It seems like a luxury. Oh, we get to miss class and we're gone. But our players are really serious about academics and about, making good grades in their classes. And we have study hall on the road. They were all, studying and turning in assignments online while we were gone. And so they're glad to be back at home for a couple of days just to be able to kind of get back into their routine, sleep in their own apartments and dorm rooms, and be able to go to class for a couple of days.
This upcoming Wednesday, you play at Stephen F. Austin, who's half a game in front of you in the conference standings. How are you preparing your team for this game? Yeah,
it'll be a great matchup. Another game where we'll see two of the top teams in the conference playing against one another. Stephen F. Austin does a great job of, you're going to see a 3-quarter court press back into the matchup zone after every made shot, every dead ball, and you've got to be able to take care of the basketball and go down and execute half-court sets against them. I think a big key will be rebounding. We've got to pursue offensive rebounds as well as block out and rebound. Stephen F. Austin is one of the best offensive teams as far as point production as well. So defensively, we've got to get better the next 2 weeks and really take a lot of pride in our defense and make sure that we're playing solid team defense, not giving up too many high percentage shots.
And similar to your team, this team likes to spread the ball out on offense and point production, as you mentioned. How are you planning to combat them on a defensive standpoint?
Yeah, defensively, we talk a lot about playing team defense. 1 or 2 lapses is not what hurts you. It's when your teammates don't have your back, when they're not exactly in the right position, if you do get beat or you get face cut. Or so it's about our whole team, all 5 players on the floor being synchronized, working together. At this level, at the D1 level, you can't just match up one-on-one and expect to, lock down and never get beat. And so you have to work together as a unit, and that's going to be really important that we, slow down their point production and make sure that for sure we don't let 1 or 2 of their players get a hot hand. But it's going to take the whole team being locked in for 30 seconds each defensive possession in order to get stops.
And this Saturday, you'll finally be back in Moody to play Incarnate Word. What's it going to be like to come back home after that long road trip? Yeah,
we're looking forward to it. It'll be fun to play back at Moody, and we have a couple of events going on for that game. We expect to have a big crowd. It's another doubleheader. We consider Incarnate Word one of our big rivals just because they were with us in the Lone Star when we moved into the Southland. We made that move together, and so we anticipate a lot of purple in the stands, and we're looking forward to our annual Alumni Day event and just having former women's basketball players come back and do some activities in the morning, and then just be at our post-game reception. It's always fun to catch up with them, and I love hearing the stories about their teammates and how well they played when they were here and just the experiences they had. But the thing that I love the most is to talk to our alumni and just hear the stories about how ACU truly transformed their lives and how set them on a trajectory for excellence in their homes and their careers, and really started the foundation for them to be Christian leaders after they left ACU.
And one final note, you're 2-0 on this road trip. You have one more game left. What would it mean to go for the sweep on this road trip and confidence booster going forward?
Yeah, it'd be huge. Last week was tough enough being at Sam Houston and Central, and we have a really tough task at hand going to SFA to win a ball game. But this is a really tough stretch for us. It really doesn't get much easier for sure, but just being on the road these 3 games is pretty grueling, and so to win all 3 games would be a big step forward for our program and trying to achieve the goals that we've set for ourselves.
All right. The Wildcats prepare for SFA Wednesday on ESPN+. The tip Wednesday is set for 5 p.m. ASU will be back in Abilene Saturday for Incarnate Word at 4:30. That game on ESPN3. For Coach Goodenough and the ASU TV crew, I'm Owen Simpson. Thanks for watching the Julie Goodenough Show. We'll see you here next week.